Hubbity hibbity hoobity. What's up? It's Jordan, and I'm back. You ready? My moustache is ready. Pretty much ready to be cut off, that is. It's growing like up my nose. It's going skyward. First time that's happened, I think. Must be an exceptional effort this year. To the mighty Movember, you are nearly over, and everybody in my near vicinity will be quite pleased with that. Anyway, probably me included, to be honest. Moustaches, as beautiful as they are, they're very annoying. You get food stuck in there. They go up your nose for the first time. They're a bit itchy sometimes. They like hang down in your mouth over your lip. No good. Anyway, instead of me talking about moustaches, I'm going to talk about something that I found very interesting that I've done some learning about. And maybe if you're running a podcast and the topic is suitable, then you will also find this very, very interesting. Don't forget to guess where I am in the world. This one should be easy, and if you get it right, you get 30 minutes of my time to help you change the world audio-visually with your business or whatever. I was browsing the internet, and I was looking for ideas and kind of different ways of thinking about podcasts and how to use content and use audio content. And I stumbled across some information about multilingual podcasts. And then I thought, well, my initial reaction was, okay, well, if we're doing a podcast in English, we're getting into kind of the majority of the market, which is true. Perhaps your market's New Zealand, Australia. If it's the US, then English is also going to work. And then I thought, the other issue is I don't speak 17 languages, for example, or even one other language. I'm trying to learn Catalan. It's going really slowly, but I'm getting there. I definitely couldn't do a podcast in Catalan, and most of us couldn't do podcasts in multiple languages. If you could, I'm very envious. But that doesn't mean that you couldn't use an interpreter as essentially you and essentially your guest, if you have a guest, to be, for example, speak Mandarin and approach the Chinese market and be able to use your podcasts and distribute your podcasts in China. Even though the content's English, it's been interpreted and translated by essentially voice actors and can then be used in a completely different market. Now, some of you are probably going, well, I don't think that's really necessary for what I'm trying to achieve. But other people, let me give you an example, might think, hot damn, could be quite a good idea in terms of there's 1 billion people in China. I think it's 1.28 billion to be more precise. That's a lot more exposure to potentially a lot of those who can't speak English or find it much easier to absorb content in their own language, like we do in our first language. So what are the chances of, let's say, for example, you're doing a podcast about immigration. Maybe you're an immigrant yourself and you wanted to talk to people about the difficulties they've had, the experiences they've had, where they've found, maybe it's specific to New Zealand, moving to New Zealand. What's that all about? How does it go? What's your experience? What are the things you've found that were difficult, that worked really well? Maybe you live in Australia and you moved to Australia from another country who doesn't speak English, for example, Mandarin in China. Maybe your product could be exponentially valuable in Mandarin if it was about immigrating to New Zealand and informing people on, what are the issues and how do they solve them and how they make new friends and all those sort of things, but it's in their own language. So that really got me thinking, and I was like, God damn it, I'm going to do a video about this because sure, it's going to add some cost. Of course, everybody's time is worth something. So consider that. What I found in the research I did was that actually if you transcribe your own content from English, which is smart, it's a good way to do things, then you can save money on the back end because transcription services, you can usually do it for free if you find, or maybe you've already got some software that does transcriptions. And once that's done, you can go ahead and get a translator to do the rest of the work for you. So the translators where the cost comes in, maybe you need 2 different translators to make it feel like a proper podcast. And there's going to be an element of trusting the fact that they use their words well and transcribe what you said well and all of those sorts of things. But what I could find was that it's going to, like, if you did a podcast that was an hour long, it's going to cost you roughly between $500 and $800. So it's quite expensive, depending on how you look at it. But is your target audience not necessarily in English? That got me thinking a lot. That got my food for thought and my brain rotating. The gears tickety-tick. Doesn't happen too often. But it happened today, and I wanted to tell everyone about it. Okay, that's it from me. I hope it gets your gears turning. Maybe it doesn't, and maybe this video wasn't for you, but at least you had a cool view while you watched me. Guess where it is? You know the deal. Go and check out my website if you need help with your audio, visual, anything. I do all sorts of weird, obscure stuff because people are contacting me and being like, can you do this? And I'm like, well, I can now. Thankfully, with the skills that you have in any industry, you figure out ways where you can deliver on what people's needs are, especially with audio and a little bit of visual as well. But particularly audio, hence the name NZ Audio Editors. Go check it out.com. Stay safe out there and watch out for those aggressive moustaches that will only last a further 3 days. Bye.